Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Beauty Industry Podcast, your online support community for the professional beauty industry, connecting you with educational pieces, innovative industry products and inspiration from industry experts. I am your host, founding director of Beauty Industry, Tamara Shaw. Today I would like to welcome our very first guest to the podcast, a dear friend of mine who has recently joined the beauty industry herself, Mel Yu. Mel has one of the most important messages that we can share as a community and certainly take note of when you are starting out in new business, which is the power of networking. Mel has opened 2 thriving businesses in events and branding and attributes those successes to networking. Mel also adds to her expertise being a keynote speaker at events and MC and an all-round giver of support, and what a privilege it is to have her on the podcast today. From MCO Events, today we welcome Mel Yu.
Oh my gosh, Tamara, thank you so much for that crazy introduction. I should have definitely recorded it, and I'm going to let my mum hear that. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on here and as one of your first podcast guests. So it's very, very exciting times for the both of us, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to just start off today by just asking you, what is networking? So there's so many different ways in which someone can connect with someone, so having a coffee or making a phone call, but what are the ways which really spark that interest for you in terms of networking?
I think networking, it can be quite a scary term when it comes to business because, people kind of scare away from things like network marketing or, you've got to have a strong network. And if we just break it down really, really simply, I feel that networking is just about relationships. So networking for me is just the power of building relationships and authentic relationships. And as human beings, I feel that it's a natural instinct for us. As humans, we're naturally social animals. We flock towards one another, we gravitate towards one another, and we look to build cultures with one another. So to put it really, really at its basic, I would say networking is actually, it's just about building relationships, having friends, like exactly what you were saying, Tamara. It could be just a coffee. It could be just saying hi on the street. Everything, if you look at it, has in some way or another, it is about networking because everything we do is people to people.
And I love how you touched base on the point there about being really authentic. So how can you, so often, we come to events and we think, oh my gosh, there's a person there who I would love to say hi to. And we've probably built up this whole conversation in our minds about the interaction and how it's going to take place. How can you be super authentic when, there may be someone who you've just followed their career forever, and you really want to chat with them?
Yeah. And authenticity it's a funny one. I talk about authenticity a lot in leadership and in business. And authenticity, it's about a feeling, right? To put it really simply, I don't know if you can actually tell someone, be more authentic because no one really ever identifies themselves as not being authentic. So it is a really tough one. But again, authenticity comes to that feeling. So authenticity is about building trust. When someone trusts you, someone's feeling that you have an authentic brand and you're giving out an authentic energy. And especially when you do go to networking events, and in the beauty industry, there are a lot of them, and we're almost inundated with who do we speak to in a room full of people. And that authenticity naturally draws us to the certain people that we do connect with. Because when you walk into a room, you don't actually converse with every single person. Your energy naturally draws to someone else, someone that's potentially like-minded. Your body does a scan of around you and who you want to network with. So I say when you're drawn to someone and you want to speak to them, or you've seen their profile, or you've identified as something, you've got a relationship or something relatable with that person, I think it's just really, really simply going up and starting a conversation. So it's as simple as just saying, hey, and then letting that conversation flow. When you focus too much on sort of the pitch and what you want to get out and what you want to say. You end up, one, almost speaking too fast, two, not really even it's going to be a one-way street where you're so focused on what you need to say, you're not even going to be readily able to engage and listen to what that receiving person wants to say back to you. So I think just being really honest with yourself, going up to people and engaging as the real you, not really knowing where that conversation's going to go is totally okay, because the rest of that, a communication thing takes two people to tango. So let it just drive you, let it guide you into whatever that may be.
And I love how you've mentioned there how, we are kind of animal and we're a little bit primal. So all of our social, interactions, they are kind of like, I like her and I feel like I'm going to go say hi. And it's kind of like we don't even know what it is about that person, but something about, their energy or our intuition has just drawn us to that person. And I think that's really, really imperative to touch on being in our industry, especially because we do have a lot of that intuition and that energy, and we, really run on high vibrations. So to kind of connect with someone in a room with so many vibrations, as you would imagine at most networking events, that's kind of cool. But what we're struggling with, and I find particularly in the beauty industry, is because we're very kinetic. We learn by doing, we learn by touching, massage, touching people's skin during a facial, all of that kind of stuff. We feel a little disconnected, daunted and scared of the social media side of networking, because we don't have that face-to-face interaction. We're not able to touch someone and give them a handshake or give them a little pat on the back and say, hey, how are you? I just wanted to come on over. So how would you give someone advice in our industry and saying, how they can best connect with someone on a social media level when just typing a little text message or a little direct message on Instagram or Facebook may not be a way that they normally communicate with people?
Yeah. And so social media is an interesting one, because ever since social media sort of opened up, in particular Instagram and Facebook world, it has opened the gateways up to all this sort of unlimited communication and unlimited access globally. So in one end, it's a super exciting time that we can now reach people that we never would have been able to reach without the platform of Instagram and social media. But I guess it does also have a lot of fears and objections in terms of communication, and there is a lot of things on show. It is very hard to seek an authentic brand on Instagram, because I feel, especially in this field, everyone's a Bali model and everyone's an influencer.
Yes.
And everyone has a product to sell. So it is very hard to reach out and be genuine. But I think when it starts from, again, using a simple conversation where instead of using the touch, instead what we're using is our voice. So you have a voice still on social media, and we engage on social media via visuals and via audio. So those two things are still quite important, and the content that you're putting out still has to be genuine, because otherwise people will sense that you're selling them. And often I think if you're genuine and it's part of your lifestyle and it comes through in organic conversations, social media is actually going to benefit you, and it's going to benefit your audience, because you're reaching masses and masses of people. And so I think not using social media as a negative tool and using it as a positive tool, using it as a complementary tool. Let's just talk about Instagram for one. Instagram, you can use visuals, which is a photo. You can write, if writing's your strength, you can use the captions. Or if it's not and you prefer speaking, then now, you can blog.
Different kind of authenticities you were saying based on social media and Instagram in particular. When I think about someone who's great at writing, for example, you said, I think of someone like Zoe Foster Blake and her go-to skincare brand, and she's really crass and funny, and that's super authentic to me. Then I take a look at somebody, there's an amazing day spa down in Melbourne called Little Company, and their imagery is absolutely stunning, and that I kind of connect with. Is that good networking, would you say, or is that just kind of a social media image that they're putting up?
So again, it comes down to, you're exactly right. So people use Instagram, this one tool, to whatever it is that is their advantage. So I say, if you're a great writer, blog away and write all about the ingredients, write about the process and do all of that. If you're great at visual merchandising, then it's something that, you know, you're choosing your color palettes, you're choosing this amazing type of content delivery where every single Instagram post just, it's heavenly and it's really catching. Or if you like actually using audio better and you're more comfortable just speaking and having a conversation, then you're probably going to look into doing those vlogs and you're going to do those videos. So that's one part of social media, which is what we're saying, which is content creation. The second part is engagement. So this is where the networking stuff comes in. So Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, all of these platforms exist with two things: content and then engagement. So yes, you have to deliver great content. You have to deliver authentic content. You have to deliver a certain story or a product. But without the engagement, you're still going to lose. So that's where the networking comes in, because engagement is all about having a conversation. So when people are commenting on your post or they're DMing you, the whole purpose of social media is then to engage back, and that's when the conversation starts. So I definitely do think it's a new age millennial form of networking now. And when you look at Gen Z, so the generation now below us, Tamara, they're just born into it. This is second nature to them. This is their form of communication. So when we go out for dinner and stuff, we might still find it a bit weird when two people are sitting at the table and they're on their phones and they're not communicating. And it is often like, why are you're so disconnected from the world? But really, when we look at it in a neutral basis, they're socializing in the way that they know how to.
Right. I see. I like that. And it's kind of like when you, when I've commented maybe perhaps on like a celebrity or a local socialite on their Instagram and they've written back, I've kind of like, oh, that's quite cool. I feel like we're friends now. So I guess, yeah, really engaging with your audience is super, super important.
Yeah, and it gives you it's like, oh, the person is real and that person is genuine. Because over time, you'll find the strongest ones and the strongest influencers on social media are the ones that engage with their community. They've gone out there and they've built a community around their platform. Nowadays, we're also under the pump, and often we might be at our own studio, at our own beauty clinic, and we forget to come out and network. So I think connecting with people on Instagram and Facebook is always going to be a positive, and then having events that you host where everyone actually does get to come together face to face, then you've got a winning formula, because you're getting all of that goodness and that richness, and then you're also going to add that face to face contact.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I read a funny little quote yesterday that's really just stuck with me. Not a quote, sorry, a statistic. And it said, you're 3 times more influential when you network. And that kind of just stuck with me. I was like, wow, so if you want to have an influence on anything, be your business, be your family, your friends, whatever it may be, your side hobby, 3 times more influential when you network. So why do you think that is? Why is it so important to do that?
I'm not sure where you read that statistic. I'm going to go one up on that and say, I think you're 100 times more influential when you network. And that's a pretty bold statement. I literally just made that statistic up. I should do some research on it. But in saying that, your circle of influence is who you know, but you don't know who that person knows. And so this is the power of networking, where when you're in a circle is your family, your friends, your close friends, your acquaintances, all of that stuff, even to the point of your friendly neighborhood grocer or like the shops next door. All these are your influence and your relationships. When you speak about what you do and your lifestyle and potentially your service or your product, they then have the power to influence and spread that message across their networks. So you get this ripple effect in terms of networking, and you get this ripple effect in it really does. You don't know how far your message might go, because you only know what you know, but you don't know what others know. And I think that's really the power of it. So when you go and look at, you're saying 3 times, I'm imagining that's you, then your outer circle, and then their outer circle, and then again. That's pretty immediate, but I think it can travel longer than that. And that's where you see sort of like celebrities having that status and having that power, because we all read gossip magazines and things like that, and it triples down like wildfire.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And it's in our industry, it's such a small industry. You know, you could have gone to, you know, primary school with someone, and then all of a sudden you are hiring them in an interview. Next minute, they're your product rep. I mean, you and I, we went to high schools in 2 different suburbs. We probably haven't spoken for so long, but we've always kept in contact with each other just through networking, literally on social media. And now all of a sudden you're in the beauty industry. I was searching for someone to look into events, someone to, you know, help me on this pathway. And you're like, hey, I'm now in the beauty industry. I mean, that, you know, networking, you know, sometimes what I kind of find, it's not even creating a new network. Like when I think of network, I think, you know, I've got to make a new friend, or I've got to make a new account. And like we, you know, have had such a good relationship, and it's an existing network that could potentially just, create that ripple effect, as you said.
And I think it's nurturing your existing relationships as well. So again, when we go back and talk about authenticity at the start, it's going to come across really genuine and really unauthentic if you're great at making these friends and these introductions, and then you don't nurture the relationship and you don't follow up on that relationship. You often, as the receiving person of that, is like, wow, and that's where the sales comes in. Wow, did you just try and sell me? Did you just try and push your product or service onto me, and then now you don't care? And that's the thing. It's like people can sense that genuineness, whether it be 2 years down the track, 3 years down the track. Some relationships come and blossom back into business and friendship 10 years later. And I think that's when you leave on good, when, you know, people just get busy, and it's not that there wasn't anything to keep nurturing, but it's all good and well. And then you have something to offer someone. When you reached out to me, I was all in. I was excited. I was, you know, really, really grateful for the opportunity. And then that allows us now to connect our networks and collaborate together. And I think that's why when it's such a positive influence, like-minded individuals like that just then gravitate towards each other. And that's where you really see change, and you really see people making an impact in the beauty industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Networking, and really I'm one to practice what we preach, right? So what I would like to introduce to our listeners, Mel, is something that you and I have been touching base on very recently, which is something that I'm so excited about, and we can all put into practice what we've learned here today about networking, is the launch of a very special event, which is called Beauty Brunch, which is hosted by yours truly, by Beauty Industry. So basically, this is an exclusive industry-only networking event, which is going to be held in Melbourne. We have teed it up with the first weekend of spring, so everything's blooming. We've got, amazing flowers. We've got green leaves now, and hopefully we've come out of our winter shells and we're just ready to go out there and make our networks thrive. So Sunday, the 2nd of September from 10 until 1. Tickets are $35 each, and they are available from today through the website beautyindustry.com on the events page. And this will allow you to connect with like-minded industry souls, as you now know how, thanks to Mel. What are some tips that you could give? So obviously being authentic, we've spoken about, but just maybe 1 or 2 extra things that our listeners could certainly get value from in coming to the Beauty Brunch hosted by Beauty Industry, and really just expanding their network.
I'm so excited about that. That's really, really awesome. And what you're doing tomorrow is you're bringing an existing online community now. This is exactly what I was talking about, and I didn't even know you were going to launch this. So you're bringing an online community now to people face to face. And that's, again, what we do as humans. We connect and we build relationships when we are in the same room, and all those organic conversations start flowing. So I guess my tips to your listeners are come to the brunch because, I mean, say yes to every opportunity. I think I go to a lot of different networking events because I have a winning mindset and I have a really positive and open-minded mindset where what's to lose? I've gone to events on my own, and with these sort of beauty industries and stuff, the events are so welcoming though, that you can walk into an event alone and you walk out with 3 best friends. And that's the beauty of it, when you connect those people that don't have an ego, they're coming as, you know, just good, loving spirits to meet other people. When you get that many people in the one room, that is where all that inner beauty flows. So we're talking way beyond just like a beauty product now. We're talking about that soul connection. So yeah, number 1 tip would just be say yes to an opportunity. If this sounds like an opportunity where you have nothing to lose, then go for it. And number 2 in terms of networking is don't be afraid to put your truth out there. Don't be afraid to have an opinion, because everyone has an opinion and you may not be well received by everyone. But when you speak from the heart and when you speak truthfully, you will get the right people that align with your values, your mission and your dreams. And that's all that really matters anyway.
Amazing. I love that. That feels so good. That gives me little warm fuzzies about the magic that we're already, you know, creating and inspiring. I can't wait. And so we are super, super, super fortunate enough to steal Mel away from her 3 businesses and online influencer life for the day, and we're going to have Mel be our MC for the brunch, so you'll all be able to put a face to the name on the day. But Mel, if they want to connect with you in the meantime, because there's 3 months till our event, where can they find you online?
Amazing. So I'm probably most active on my Instagram. So my social media handle is at Mel Yu, MELLIEYU. And just click me a follow, and like what I just said, send me a DM, and I engage and I write back to every single person as well. So that's where the communities can start existing. And then I'm really excited because to be able to MC for your event tomorrow, it's just gonna strengthen what we're already gonna build and what we've already built here within 20 minutes of a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate your time today. So thank you so much for being a part of our very first co-host podcast. We did it. I'm so proud. And yeah, just really, really appreciate your time and you and all your words and just being able to impart your knowledge and your wisdom, because we don't have many people which can give us this advice in our industry. Unfortunately, we kind of are behind the 8 ball, and hence why I really wanted to start this community so that we can start having these fruitful conversations and getting these connections out there and feeling like we're not just alone in our own treatment room or in our own business. Like there is a lot of support out there. So I really appreciate your time today, and so looking forward to seeing you at the brunch.
No worries, Tamara. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining into episode number 3, The Power of Networking with Mel Yu from MCO Events. If you have enjoyed today's podcast, be sure to tune in next week for episode 4, where we talk to Shelley Leone about what your business development manager can do for you in your business. Until then, stay connected.